Welcome to Scam Squad. I'm your host, Patty Teal, here as always with Deputy District Attorney Vicki Johnson. And as I always say, when we have this particular guest who returns, she's our favorite criminologist. Vicki, would you introduce her?
Absolutely. We're happy to have back with us today Judy Chrisman Yates. And she is a criminologist, and she has a wonderful newsletter that she puts out once a month, a financial information newsletter, always just chock full of valuable information. And in her last newsletter, she addressed a very difficult topic, at least it's difficult to me. So, Judy, welcome back to Scam Squad. And on past shows, we have talked about artificial intelligence a little bit. Now there's something new that has come to the world's attention called Chat GPT. Chat GPT. So could you explain what that is in simple terms so that we can understand it?
Well, first, it's great to see you again, Vicki and Patty. Thank you for having me back on Scam Squad. Today, as we're going to attempt simplicity in describing this technical computer terms, I will do my best. But first, we want to talk about chatbots. So chatbots are in our daily lives. We use them all the time, whether you know it or not. So for example, if you're on your computer or on your telephone, and there's a little box on the computer that you get to ask questions if you need help. Or on the telephone, if the voice says, you may speak answers, that would be a chat bot. And what that is exactly is that it's software, but it's predefined software. So they put in, the software has the questions, and it has the answers. And the reason I find it so very frustrating many times is if you don't ask the right question, then obviously you're not going to get the right answer. So then along comes Chat GPT, that stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Oh,
and Chat GPT is a language model, and it's more complex and it's more sophisticated than a chatbot. And the reason it is because they're using artificial intelligence. And they are setting it up so that human beings can ask questions of this database and get answers that they can even change later. So it's pre-trained, and it has more than 300 billion words that were systematically scraped from the internet, from books, articles, websites, and posts, and was included in this database. And it's a language model. So it works on probability. The way it works is whatever you ask it, it tries to predict the next word. It starts with an answer and it predicts the next word. So remember that this information in the language model is not current. So if you ask it, for example, recently we had a political person use Twitter and announce that they were running for president. You could not ask that question of ChatGPT because the information in there is not current. You need to find out when they last updated all the information. So there is a lot of questions surrounding how legal this system is, who belongs to all that information that was scraped from internet. They're worried about plagiarism. They're worried about how many jobs is this going to replace, but we're not going to talk about any of those things today. We're going to stick simply to what ChatGPT, and there are others just like it, that's the most popular one. It was released in November of last year, 2022. And it was created by a company, OpenAI. And it is said to be changing the world more than access to the internet changed the world.
Wow.
So imagine
That's
all the
amazing.
things that.
So, Judy, what are some things that we can do with ChatGPT? I mean, how would I use it, or how would a student use it, or how would anybody? What are some things that we can actually do with it?
Okay, so you go to OpenAI and you would click on the ChatGPT link. And you have to be very, very careful because a lot of scammers are doing lookalikes for that website. So you need to get to the right place. But you can ask some questions and or ask it to assist you with tasks like composing emails, writing essays. Students are doing that a lot right now. And it's capable of giving you a response based on the context and the tone of the conversation that you have used. And it turns out that the real ChatGPT has no downloads or apps. So I talk about application, that's not an app. So, and then the question often comes up, is it free? Yes, it is free right now. They're getting everyone to use it. It turns out more than 100 million users accessed it in the first 2 months. That is how popular this happens to be. But you can get it to do all kinds of things. So for example, one of the examples at OpenAI is you ask it to write a description of ChatGPT as though you're a pirate. And it comes back and goes, well, matey, and it describes it perfectly. And it's in the language that a pirate might use. And if you don't like what that is, you can actually say, well, now change this to make it sound like, I don't know, somebody else. So it's very interactive, not always correct.
I watched a friend of mine use ChatGPT to write a
You said GPT, is that correct?
GPT, sorry,
Right.
GPT. I watched a friend of mine use ChatGPT to write a thank you note to somebody in the form of a poem using iambic pentameter. They wrote the most beautiful poem and it took all of about 10 seconds. It was remarkable. It was remarkable.
It's remarkable. And a friend of mine is writing a book and the title I thought needed to be changed. And so he asked ChatGPT, which was better. He gave it 2 names. And I wish I had written so eloquently what this fed back. It was amazing. So it's something for sure.
It's something, and you have to be careful with it because I know people have used it to write legal briefs and have found out that some of the sites are just dead wrong. It was almost like they made it up. So you do have to be careful how you use it because if you're using it for something serious that has to be taken seriously, you have to check the sources. Otherwise, you might be giving misinformation, wrong information. So let me ask you this. How do scammers use this? I'm sure they're onto it and I'm sure they have figured out ways to use it.
Well, scammers are very busy and yes, they are using it, but it's important to know that there are other language machine applications. I believe you talked about one on the show and that was the voice deep fakes. And it also does, programs have face generators. So you can add the face. One that is legit is actually DALL-E, DALL-E. And that is an AI system that can create realistic images of art from a description in natural language. So you can say, and by the way, it's named after, it's a combination of Salvador Dali, the famous artist, and Pixar's Wall-E, and that's where they came up with DALL-E. But it is remarkable and it is presenting all kinds of problems. So you can say, paint a unique picture that uses Salvador Dali's techniques and Rembrandt's. And it will come up with whatever it comes up with. And by the way, if somebody else happens to ask a question to one of these software programs, it's very likely that they will get a different answer. It depends how much information has been fed in there because every time people are working and using it, it is, I understand that it is updating and trying to learn more things. So that's another interesting feature. I mean, it's really almost hard to comprehend all of this.
It really
And-
is. It's so science fiction almost to
It
to me.
is, yeah.
Mhm.
It
And,
really
and
is.
how are scammers using this? I'm sure they are.
Well, they definitely are. They're generating ads with it, and it turns out that they're adding malware to it, so that if you click on the link, then your computer gets infected. As a matter of fact, Facebook, well, what is really called Meta, just in the month of May alone, caught more than 1,000 false URL links, addresses, and block those. But you can't count on everything being caught. So you have to be very careful. Also, the scammers are using it to create fake websites, that closely mimic ChatGPT in this case, or whatever website that they want to mimic. And you can ask it, they're asking it to write convincing scam messages with perfect language, and write a poem to a 45-year-old woman in the United States who loves photography and the outdoors. And it will instantly come back and give you something. And it turns out you can ask it questions. It'll give you information up to 100,000 characters, which is about 100 pages double spaced.
Now, I'm guessing that they're using AI, artificial intelligence. Scammers are using artificial intelligence in romance scams. Is that true?
Correct.
And so how?
Well, so the scammers are not per se using the artificial intelligence. They're using these software programs like ChatGPT that has, that they have used artificial intelligence, so that it's not just pre-programmed. It doesn't think, it's not a human being. It just does comparative research with all of the information that is in there and predicts by the next word. So the ways that you can find out, the ways that you need to be concerned about is, that the software will maybe use short sentences, or maybe they'll reuse the information more than once because it doesn't know what to say. Sometimes it creates content and it's eloquent, but it doesn't really say anything. So there's no substance. So you have to be careful. Also,
so would an AI program used in a romance scam, would it create dialogue that the scammer would use with the victim? Is that one of the things it might do?
yes. Honestly, in the future, they may program it and have that program respond to the victim in this case, because when things get better, you use that artificial intelligence, so to speak, that it can throw out more words one after the other. So, but it turns out that you can look for things. If it's too well written and has perfect grammar, be aware. And
Oh dear.
and remember, we used to say, if it's not spelled appropriately or improper grammar or just not worded right, then you know that it's probably from another country or somebody that, isn't quite up to speed. Well, now we're saying with this technology, if it's too well written and the punctuation is too good, it turns out, I have talked to some people in high school and in college, and they have actually been having ChatGPT write some of their papers. And but one of the things that the schools are thinking about is, gee, how do we limit this? We can for sure not have it used in the school computers, but people are at home. Are you going to have students handwrite documents? So at least, you know that they read something and changed it to their words or whatever. They're not really sure what to do with this. So, and also you have to look for things that are repetitive. If it doesn't sound right, then it probably isn't but that's being refined. And like I said, if the content is too new, if it's something that just happened recently, then it's going to give you an answer. So if you asked who used Twitter to announce their presidency, that they're running for president, it's going to give you something. It may not be real, but it's going to look real. It's going to sound real. So you have to do your homework more now than ever. And also the scammers are creating, pop-ups, ads, pop-ups, and so that they get you to click on them so that, you get sent over to their website. So you have to be really, really careful.
Wow.
Probably one of the most challenging things is the information real? And it can look scholarly. It doesn't mean it's real. Think about the debates that we've had all these years, for example, on cholesterol. Can you eat eggs? Can't you eat eggs? Well, that ChatGPT, depending how you ask that question, is going to give it the best answer it can find out there on those 300+ billion words. It doesn't mean it's true.
Right. So let me ask you this. I'm just thinking, is it possible one day that romance scammers will simply use ChatGPT to have conversations with their romance scam victims so that you think you're talking to a human being, but you're actually talking to artificial intelligence? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. Certainly possible. I mean, and it's advancing so quickly. And I believe when you talked about AI and the deepfake voices, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to somebody on the telephone, you can't always tell if it's a chat bot or it's a real person. Well, you can, because then there's a hesitancy. And also, if you don't ask it the right thing, it won't give you an answer at all. But this is just making everything so much more sophisticated. And it's really pretty scary. So, one of the ways that they're using, the scammers are using this, another way is they're creating fake dating profiles. And with ChatGPT, they can actually do not just one person at a time, because, that takes a lot of time, one-on-one.
Right.
So they'll be able to do, many, many more. And, we've talked about it with romance scams. A lot of those are syndicates. Most often they're syndicates, the more sophisticated are. So it's not the person that you're talking to, even though they're scamming you, they're likely not making much money off of you. They're just, their job is to entertain you and get you to send them money. But a lot of times these syndicates have psychologists. Now they're going to have AI experts. They're going to have, the programmers and what have you. So, it is, really all changing. So, the scammers can up their production, and they can also lighten their workload, and they're going to be more creative. And if you can go and ask a question of, I'll give you these parameters, and you can't ask too many things, because if you ask too many things at once, it gets them all mixed up. So if you include too many people, for example, but you keep it to one, and you put in all those things that you as the victim have given. And, I like this and I like that. And, oh, gee, I have a child that's sick, or, whatever it happens to be. They have all that information. And without AI, they've been able to keep you on the hook for sometimes months or years. So it's going to be even worse, because this ChatGPT and similar type software it's just taking and condensing the time it takes in making things worse. So
Wow.
it can write love poems. It can, write sympathetic stories, whatever it happens to be.
Unbelievable. So another thing that you shared in your newsletter, the Federal Trade Commission has come up with 8 favorite lies used by scammers in their romance scams. Can you tell us what they are? 8 favorite lies.
Yes. Okay. Like you say, it's from the FTC. So I'll read them from the most likely that you're going to hear. I or someone close to me is sick or hurt or in jail. Or I can teach you how to invest. The next is, oh, I'm in the military far away. Or I need help with an important delivery. Next, we never met, but let's talk about marriage. And the last three are, I've come into some money or gold. Oh, and they want to share it with you. Or I'm on an oil rig or a ship. Well, that's because you don't know much about it. You don't think you can get to them. And the last one on their list is, you can trust me with your private pictures.
Oh my gosh. That's a killer.
I've heard all of those from many, many different victims.
Well, it's good to know what they are, and it seems to be a pattern that scammers use. They're never available. They're always a businessman offshore and they can't get back home, or they're a service. They're in the service and they're stationed overseas, and so they can't see you in person. And there's always a problem with somebody in the family, or they have problems with money, trying to get their money out of a foreign bank account. Whatever it is, there's a similarity to the stories that they seem to share. So it's good to know what the 8 favorite lies are, because if you hear some of those from somebody that you've developed a relationship with online, you should be on red alert. You are dealing with a scammer. And of course, the minute they ask you for money, just get rid of them. They are a scammer. So that's lots of good information, Judy. Scary information, but good information.
It is good information. I have a little question for Judy. We talked about the deep fake with the voices, and I understand how that could fool someone so much, especially the kidnapping scam. But I know that sometimes they use that same technology or similar to have fake videos. And so far, it's mostly been celebrities. But are they getting to the point where they can just take a video of an average person? I mean, most people have Facebook and YouTube and all kinds of things. Can they make it look like the person as well as just the voice?
Absolutely.
Oh, are they already doing that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh my
they're adding
gosh.
the picture, they're adding the voice. That takes, 15 seconds. The more voice they have, the better quality they get, but they can.
And it can look like they're speaking, the mouth and everything.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
so,
my goodness.
I actually have a list of basics, and you've heard these before. It's for all scams, but trust your gut. And if it's too good to be true, it's likely a scam. Don't rush. If they're pushing you into making any type of decision, no matter what it is, huge red flag. And never send gift cards or cryptocurrency or money to somebody that you don't know. If you have, and you think you know them, if you're talking to them for a long time, if you have not touched them, seen
I
them,
hope you have to touch them nowadays. Yes. So,
hopefully that's not the next software program. So, you need to have them in your presence. And by the way, scammers and con artists have been around long before computers. So you could be involved with a scammer in person. It's not 100% sure you're not, but it's going to reduce your problems significantly. And then I want you to always share your financial investments and your personal relationships with your family, your friends, the tax person, a lawyer, somebody. But you oftentimes just aren't interested in their opinion. You're not going to want their opinion if you've been scammed. I can tell you. So get it early and talk to somebody. These are interesting new conversations that we're having, at the coffee shop. It's just common. Also, don't click. If somebody wants you to click on something, it's probably a scam. Do your homework. And never answer the phone if you don't know who it is. You just don't want to be doing that. And I have people that still do that. But if you answer the phone and hang up right away because you think it's a scammer, your name goes to another list that says you are a person. You're going to go on more scammer lists. So don't do that.
It's a sad world we live in where we can't answer our phone, but I have not answered my phone forever unless I recognize the name of the person that's calling. I figure if it's important, they'll leave me a message, and they always seem to. So my doctor's office always leaves me a message. I don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. And even then you have to be careful because like I said, they could use a fake voice, generator or a face generator or deep fake for your voice. So you have to be careful. You have to pay attention to in the moment, what is the conversation? What is going on? Does it make sense? Is something a little off? I just got a text yesterday that said it was, talk to Larry D on chat. Well, I know a Larry D, and it's like, this is just weird. So I sent him a text. I actually made a copy of that, a screenshot, and I sent it to him. And I said, did you send me this? And he said, no. And I said, well, you better warn your friends because, this is a phishing scam. So you have to be careful. So it's just, it used to be exciting. I remember when it was exciting getting mail and going through it. And then it got to be a burden. Well, it was exciting getting things from people on internet or, however you get it. I mean, a text. But you have to be careful now. You just need to keep your world small and deal with people that you know.
Yep. Very good advice, Judy, as always, and wonderful information. Thank you again.
Yes,
for
thank
being
you,
on the
Judy.
show. And
Appreciate
just
it.
a reminder to everybody, if you think you are being scammed, report it. Report it. Law enforcement, FBI, ic3.gov, or Federal Trade Commission, which is ftc.gov. Report, report, report. It can make a difference.
Yes, and if you'd like to share your story on Scam Squad, if you've been scammed or nearly scammed, I know Vicki welcomes your call too. So could you give your phone hotline, Vicki?
Absolutely, Patty. It's area code 805-568-2442, and that's 805-568-2442. I love to hear your stories. I hope the stories are going to have a happy ending and you weren't, you didn't send any money, but I do want to know what is happening out there. So please call me and let me know.
And it really helps others. A real story. It's just so relatable rather than just telling people.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you both. That was a great show. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Patty.